Annabelle and Oscar, of course. Grandpa here. It's lots of love for me and Granny, and we hope you're all well and having lots of fun. Mummy's been sending lots of pictures of you all having fun, so I think you've had some pretty good times. My goodness me. And it's not long now before you'll be coming along to see us here in East Coker at Little Meadow. And Little Meadow is looking really nice. The backyard, the garden is looking good. Lots of flowers are out. And the summer house has a fresh coat of paint. So it's looking pretty good too. So, looking forward to seeing you. And what we're going to do today is read a little bit more about the puzzled penguin. That's from Zoe's Rescue Zoo. And if you remember, there was a little penguin. Great Uncle Horace had brought a little penguin chick who was very tiny and with a velvety black head. So it's chapter 6 now, and it's the penguin rescue. Ooh, that sounds exciting. When Zoe opened the cottage door that evening, she grinned as she breathed in the delicious smells of cooking. Her mum was lifting a big bubbling lasagna out of the oven. Great Uncle Horace was already sitting at the table, nibbling a piece of garlic bread and feeding crumbs to Kiki. Do you remember Kiki's his parakeet? Kiki was perched on his shoulder. As Zoe kicked off her flip-flops and stepped into the kitchen, she heard a tiny scrambling sound and looked down. Pip, ha ha ha, the penguin chip. Pip came waddling across the kitchen tiles and stood right in front of her, staring up very seriously. Looks like you've made a friend, Great Uncle Horace commented, as the little penguin rubbed his tiny head against Zoe's leg, just as he had done to Great Uncle Horace earlier on. Come and sit down, Zoe, her mum said. It's lasagna and salad for us and nuts and berries for Kiki and Meep. What about Pip? Zoe asked, sitting down and grabbing a piece of garlic bread. Well, in the wild, baby penguins are too small to find food for themselves, Great Uncle Horace explained. When they are first born, they usually eat fish that their mum or dad has chewed up into a soft mush for them. When I first found little Pip, I mushed up fish for him with a fork. Now he's big enough for fish and krill, like the Rescue Zoo penguins. He held up a little blue box. Will was kind enough to give me a few krill from the penguin colony's food stores. Zoe pulled a face and Meep wrinkled his nose as Horace showed them the tiny silvery prawns inside the box. I'm glad I'm having nuts, Meep said to Zoe as he nibbled a peanut. Great Uncle Horace placed the box on the table and sat the little chick on his lap. Then he chose a tiny krill and held it in front of Pip. The little penguin gobbled it straight up, peeping happily. Zoe giggled. Can I try? She asked. Great Uncle Horace nodded kindly. We'll take it in turns. And there's Zoe feeding Pip, the baby penguin. It's very cute. Now, Uncle Horace, Zoe's mum said, you must tell us about how you found the chick. Great Uncle Horace smiled fondly at Pip. The little chap was very lucky, he explained. You see, I had travelled to the South Pole to investigate a squid with tangled tentacles. Ooh, I can hardly say that. A squid with tangled tentacles. Thankfully, I was able to untie the poor fellow straight away, and Kiki and I were just about to fly off. As I started the engine, clever Kiki started squawking as noisily as she could. He beamed at the beautiful macaw, who fluffed up her feathers proudly. I always say Kiki is my lucky charm, Horace continued, and she proved me right. She had spotted something on the ice, so we went to have a closer look. And it was a baby penguin, said Zoe. You're almost right, Great Uncle Horace chuckled. It was a single egg, alone on the ice, and just a few moments later, our little friend hatched. I wrapped him in a cosy blanket and tucked him safely in the plane. Adult penguins love the cold, of course, because they're covered in warm feathers that keep them nice and dry. But penguin chicks only have a light, fluffy layer of down, so they need to be kept warm until their feathers grow. But where were his family? Zoe asked. I thought baby penguins huddle up underneath their parents so they don't get cold. Great Uncle Horace suddenly looked very sad. I don't know, my dear, but in the Antarctic there are much bigger creatures than penguins. I'm afraid they were gone for good. He sighed. That's why I decided Pip had to come back to the rescue zoo. Left there alone, he would never have survived. Zoe gazed at the little chick. He lost his family before he was even born, she thought sadly. But at least he's safe now. Great Uncle Horace gave an enormous yawn. Goodness, I do apologise, he said. I think it must be bedtime for me. It has been a very long day. I must get some rest. And look, there's a lovely picture of Zoe cuddling Pip, the baby penguin chick. So soft, I expect. So Great Uncle Horace has to go to bed because he's very tired. Great Uncle Horace helped Zoe carry the empty dishes to the kitchen sink and then gathered the little penguin gently into his arms. Come along, young fellow. It's time for you to get some sleep too, he told the chick. Lucy, Zoe and Meep went to the door to say goodbye. Outside, the sky had turned a beautiful dusky purple with a scattering of stars. In the distance, a manor house stood high on a hill overlooking the zoo. A cluster of windows were lit up, making the house look warm and inviting. This was Higgins Hall, Great Uncle Horace's house. Great Uncle Horace kissed Lucy and Zoe goodnight and stroked Meep's head, which made Kiki squawk crossly. That's Kiki. Kiki the macaw, squawking. Sleep well, Zoe said, smiling. I'm sure we will, my dear. Did you know that emperor penguins sleep standing up with their beaks tucked underneath a flipper? Great Uncle Horace smiled down at the sleepy penguin. He winked at Zoe and lowered his voice to a whisper. Kiki does tend to snore quite loudly. Let's hope the little chap doesn't mind. Zoe smiled as Great Uncle Horace picked up the little penguin. Zoe bent down and stroked his soft, fluffy little head. He blinked curiously up at her. I wish I could speak to you now, she thought, but I have to wait until we're on our own. Because, of course, Zoe is able to speak to animals. Wouldn't that be exciting, Annabelle? If you could talk to the bears at the wildlife park. Wow. Or maybe the owls. Or, I don't know, the cougars. What other animals do you think it would be good to speak to? Haven't really thought about that. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 6. So I'm going to say goodbye and wish you well and lots of love from me and Granny, and lots of love to Mummy and Daddy and Oscar, and hopefully I'll be reading to you again soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. Bye.